it too loud or is it fine? Let me change my game to World of Warcraft.
Hello everyone, welcome to WoWcast. I'm your host Bethany Stout, and today we're going to talk about WoW Classic Hardcore Realms, and I have two special guests with me today.
Hi, I'm Ana Resendez, lead software engineer from the World of Warcraft Classic team. I am here to make sure that everything in the tech side is ready for having hardcore realms to the players.
And I'm Clay Stone, Associate Production Director on the WoW Classic team. I'm in charge of making sure that the team is well supported, has everything it needs to continue to deliver great experiences for our players. The next one being WoW Classic Hardcore.
When does Classic Hardcore come out?
Yeah, World of Warcraft Classic Hardcore
24th.
mode is coming out in August 24th.
Is it quiet?
Coming up soon.
Yeah, very soon.
Can you tell us more about Classic Hardcore?
How's this?
Yeah, I mean, hardcore, it's not a new concept, right? It's a thing that, a game mode that has appeared in different kind of games, right? Like, for example, Diablo, right? Like you get to go in there and choose to just have one life and go through the hardcore
Better?
mode. You know, and we are bringing that now to World of Warcraft for the first time officially, yeah? Like, you are gonna be in a realm where the moment that you create a character, you're kind of writing the story for it, and it's just gonna have one storyline because it only will have one life.
So why hardcore mode now?
You know, we've been watching
Community
these
popularity.
past few years as a segment of the player base has been engaging in the hardcore playstyle to the point
Was that a
where
streamer?
we started playing hardcore as well.
Wait, who was it that they showed there? Oh, they're showing. Okay, it's Sarth.
Segment of the player base has been engaging in the hardcore playstyle to the point where we started playing hardcore as well, and we fell in love with it. It felt like a whole new way to approach World of Warcraft. There was a point where our senior producer, Josh Greenfield, came to the team and he said, hey, we should do this. We should support this.
He's the one I'm interviewing
officially.
tomorrow.
We should implement the rule set, create new realms, and provide this for our players. So we came together as a team. We looked at, well, what are those rules? What would we actually want to change?
Yeah, I can turn up.
And that started us looking at our available resources, timing, when could we do this? And it all made sense that now is the right time. Now is the time to officially support this, and we're just so excited to bring it to our players.
But we did have an initial, you know, kind of like dipping our toes in it when in Season of Mastery, which is one of the first different changes that we made, like a different environment within a WoW Classic. We added an optional toggle where players were like, okay, I want to go into the challenge of only having one life, and basically this buff, once you died,
Soul of Iron.
you would it would disappear and you would no longer have it, right? You know, it really
it would say when
was
you
the
died?
base for
I didn't
us
realize
to
that.
go into the actual support of official hardcore servers, and not only from, you know, kind of like dipping our toes into hardcore, but also we, like in the classic team, we introduced this new technology where we're able to make changes to rule sets that enable to have like the same client and the same data and everything living together, but like with slightly less differences. You're still gonna be able to play the original game with infinite lives, but these really, like Season of Mastery was what allowed us to be able to create these game modes.
What are some of your favorite death moments?
Oh gosh. Okay, I'll talk about my first one.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to.
So that nobody else out there feels bad in case this happens to them. I was playing a human paladin. I got all the way up to level 6. If you can believe
Wow,
that.
Six.
Level 6.
That's a
Oh,
long
wow.
journey, yeah.
I know. And I was cruising
insane.
along, cruising so fast that I thought to myself, I don't need to run back to the trainer and get divine protection. So I got the quest that I've done a dozen times before to go retrieve Bernice's necklace from Kobold Fargo Deep Mine. Basically ran through the thing to the room where Goldtooth lives, waited for Goldtooth to spawn, engaged immediately, and I turned and ran, did another thing I was supposed to do. I put my back to them, got stunned almost immediately, and that was it for my first character.
Rest
So-
in peace.
Rest in peace.
You know, it sticks out in my mind because it was the first, and it's
really thought
just
he could take the
unfortunate because
candle.
it happened so fast. But the great news was, seconds later, I had rolled another character and I was going again. And I wasn't going to make the same mistake again the next time.
Well, Clay, you're not alone,
So he
right? Like
went
we've
and
been
learned
looking at
it.
the PTR and like other people playing there, and really, Cobalt is the #1 NPC that like kills the most people in right now in the PTR.
I believe it.
It's their revenge
And the
plot for all the
PTR,
candles
interesting,
taken.
Yeah. Because everyone's low level. You know, take
We
candle.
also know that some people change the way that they level to and like maybe avoid certain quests that they're like, you know what, that's not worth it, or like avoid it for a little bit, level more, and then try it and be like, I'm gonna be secure about this, especially when you get to like the way higher levels, right, where like, okay, well, you got to level 6, that's great.
I did it.
But you know, like getting closer to those level 50s in the 50s is like you spend a lot of time on that character, so you really need to be very sure that you have all of that in mind.
Did your first character get past level 6?
Level
she
6.
died.
Thank you for this.
Wait, what's she saying?
Well, actually, you know,
Rub it in.
when I first joined WoW, right, like the actual WoW universe, and the first time I played the game, and I spent like 20 minutes in the character screen just making sure that all the customizations were there, that I really
That's
liked my
pretty.
character.
I would make that.
Making sure it was a very cute, what was my first character? Oh, it was a blood elf, yeah. I went upstairs after my mom helped me pick up all of these. We were happy with the character. Went upstairs, played for 5 minutes. I came downstairs and I'm like, Mom, I died. I didn't understand that, wow, you had infinite lives. I thought that you only had one
So
life.
that was your hardcore
boy.
moment.
Oh,
That
that's
was my
funny.
first hardcore moment.
You were the
Yeah.
original hardcore player.
Yes, not a very good one, right? Like I died like at level 2. But yeah, I'm really excited for hardcore.
What are
Did
some
she
of the
say how far-
objectives
wait.
you have in mind for hardcore
Wait,
realms?
did she even
When we
say?
Sure, it was
Before she,
for that. You have all of that in mind.
did your first character get past level 6 before she died?
Thank you for this. Thank
Well,
you.
actually,
She
you know,
avoided the
like-
question. I guess
when
she
I
didn't
first
make
joined,
it.
I didn't understand at level 2.
What are some of the objectives you have in mind for hardcore realm?
Mom, I died. That was an old story though. That was not a now story, right? But yeah, I think she avoided the answer, but just laughed, which I guess answers it.
When we set out to create official hardcore realms, we really looked at what are our objectives in trying to accomplish this. And the first one is creating a very fair, equitable space where all players are playing by the same rules. Everybody enters into a hardcore realm playing by the same rules, with the same restrictions, same opportunities, but it's fair and balanced for everyone. The second one is really the focus on the player journey. What's so magical about hardcore is that it really places a renewed emphasis on the world of Azeroth and on that leveling experience from 1 to 60. So that's something that the team placed a lot of focus on. And then the third is we've seen on what we've called the unofficial hardcore realms shenanigans happening where
As it happens.
players are unintentionally flagging themselves for PvP and engaging in
Shenanigans.
unintentional PvP activities. So the team has really taken a hard look at what's caused those in the past and what changes we can make to address them on these official realms. So when we looked at what our capabilities were and the rule set changes that we could make, we found a lot of opportunity to be able to make some tweaks so that when you wind up in a PvP situation, it's because you wanted to. I think that we found a lot of success there.
How do you enable that? How do you enable PvP?
Yeah, it's really, you know, it's about conscience mode. You have to use the command of PvP. You kind of agree to it, right? I mean, there's also, if you ever go to the capital cities and stuff like that, then you're getting into a situation where you know that people there and the guards there are not going to be happy with you, so it's going to be very, very scary. It's a little bit different for the modern game where there's like other different systems like the war mode that doesn't exist in Classic. This is more of a, you have to actually choose to do so. And in comparison to the PvP realms, in the PvP realms, the starting zones are kind of like, you are protected in a certain way of you cannot attack someone unless they attacked you. But once you get to some zones, it kind of is like everybody is there for like each faction. If you find someone from the opposite faction, they can just attack you. And those are like kind of the realms that we have in Classic, but we're only gonna be going with the PvE one where it's like a very conscious thought of like getting into combat.
That's definitely safer.
Another tweak along those lines is we've changed it so that if you accidentally right-click on another player,
Yeah, it's pretty huge.
you don't accidentally
glad they did
find
that.
yourself flagged for PvP.
Okay. So what are some of the new features that the hardcore mode will have?
Yeah, I mean, one of our new features is Duel to the Death, right? We started seeing some players engage on it on the PTR. It's been super amazing to watch. This is one of those features that came from within the team. And, you know, we started talking about hardcore and about like all the cool things you can do in hardcore. And suddenly someone was like,
I
"Hey, we
agree.
should definitely have Duel to the Death, right? Like it's very appropriate to hardcore. It became an official thing. And now like really when you want to go Duel to the Death, only one victor will come out of it. And
Yeah,
we've
it's
seen like a
real.
lot of players engaging on it on PTR. Yeah, we actually had a tournament. Like, I don't know, Clay, if you want to talk more about the tournament.
Yeah, so it's been so cool to see the way that players on the
I
PTR
missed the
have
tournament.
engaged with Makara or Duel to the Death.
Yeah.
Our starter zones are littered with the bodies of level 1 characters because players just wanted to use it right away and try it out.
I
which has
tried
been
that.
fun.
I remember.
Something else that we've
There were
seen
a
as
lot of
well. We saw,
corpses.
so on our PTR realm, our current level cap is level 30. So players are able to level up their characters to level 30. And the community organized a level 30 Duel to the Death tournament.
Yeah.
And our whole team watched it. It was so cool to see these players who have invested so much
Yeah.
time already, even just to level 30, but to prepare for this tournament. And to know that at the end of the day, there was only going to be one left standing, and all the other players were never going to be able to play those characters again on the hardcore PTR.
Yeah, that's so cool.
And we felt while we were watching this that for
Yeah.
everyone watching this, it felt like an honor that these players had put
Yeah.
so much time and effort into these characters only to risk losing it in a tournament like this. It
Yeah.
heightened the experience, and it made the tournament feel so meaningful because of it. It was awesome.
Yeah. You know, something really cool about the Duel to the Death is that, I mean, it's a big deal, right? Like you just take somebody else's life. Also, you know, talking in the team, it's one of those things that we were like, hey, how can we make sure that players want to engage into these, but also like that they did this, they put all this effort. How can we award them with something? Every time you win a Duel to the Death, you collect one of their ears, kind of like a nod to Diablo, kind of like a reference to Diablo.
We had originally set the level to be able to earn that at level 10, but we found on the PTR
They
that
should
was
make
a
it an
little
item in your
too
bags
low. And we want to
with
make
a
sure
signed
that
name,
lower
like in
level
Diablo, so
players
you can
aren't
see who you
being
killed.
taken out just to increase one's buff. So we've actually raised that to level 19, and that's what we'll be moving forward with for now, but we'll continue to
19.
watch it.
Yeah, I mean, another one too is you have to be really close to each other level-wise, right? Like, because it wouldn't be fair of like, I'm gonna have a level 40 character just battling level 10s, you know,
Oh,
it's
yeah.
not fair.
Yeah,
So you
dog
have to be
tags.
within your level to kind of make it through. Yeah, and the other very, very cool thing about Duel to that is that we are gonna have its own specific flag.
You see that flag drop, and you know it is going down.
Oh,
These are
fancy
some great
flag.
stories with Duel to
Yes.
Death. I love
Yeah.
this. So we've talked a lot about 1v1.
Yeah.
What about battlegrounds and war games?
You know, the team thought about it, right? Like, when it's 1v1, it can be very consensual, very like, okay, let's Duel to the Death, or even in the open world, you can like set yourself as like, I want to be a target for PvP. Maybe when you're going to get those world buffs, you might need to go into zones that are contested, right? We decided that it, like hardcore, is not the mode to, you know, go queue and get like put in together with another rest of other people and going into different battles, like for example Warzone Gulch, getting like to fight for the flags, because in the original classic modes where you have multiple lives, really part of the story was like they expect you to be able to resurrect to make it a very fair battle. That said, we know that like some people actually want to go in and engage into a battle for the flags or a battle for contesting in Arathi Basin and all of these things. And you're still going to be able to do that, but you're going to have to do it in a consensual way of getting a
War
team
games.
of your own
Yeah.
and maybe an enemy team or a friend group team where you can go and battle it out. So you're always going to be able to do war games where it's like kind of like a duel, but like dueling each other into a battleground.
Dueling teams.
But this is not like Duel to the Death. If you decide to finish the battleground before, you can still come out of the battleground like while having your life intact.
we expect that we would probably just see a lot of non-participation, where players would hop in, stand in the back, wait for the battleground to end, and collect the rewards from non-participation. So it just didn't really make sense for hardcore.
This seems intimidating to have one life.
Yes.
Can new players play hardcore mode?
Oh, for sure. I think it makes it a great experience for multiple reasons.
You can die
right?
at level 2, just go again.
You only have one life, but you can go in, try it, maybe have an unfortunate ending to that character, but you get to try it again. So I feel like it's a very good way to have someone new to go and experience it, because there's going to be so many people playing it, and really you're going to have to be really aware of what your class does. It's a great learning time.
We have been so surprised by the number of players who have come to World of Warcraft for the first time just to play hardcore.
Chasmatics, thank you very much for subbing, by the way.
The approach to it is it feels so different. You tend to play slower. You tend to always be surrounded by people. One of the nicest things is, even though death happens, you go again, you roll another character, and you find yourself in a starting zone that is surrounded by other players.
That's amazing.
I mean, absolutely
no
surrounded.
more ghost towns, just like embracing the community. Well, technically, there's ghost
there's
towns.
gonna be ghost towns now, like, because you can continue to play the game while being a ghost. In hardcore, we believe in ghosts. Ghost exists.
We need visible
you can
ghosts.
Stay there and rumble around the world. That said, you're not gonna be able to still use, for example, the say channel, but you're still gonna be able to talk to your friends in the guild chat.
You can also transfer guild
They
leadership
should have a
too,
ghost channel.
if you happen to be
Oh,
the
well,
lead
that's
of
good.
it. Yeah.
So they can
So the
speak to
guild
each
can
other.
continue without you.
It can continue with you in.
Okay, I need to note this down. There should be a ghost chat channel that only ghosts can access. Ghost chat channel. That is so good, actually. I'm so excited for this version of the game. It's gonna be so good. So good.
Yes.
When someone dies, it's going to be announced in the guild chat. So if you're part of a guild, it's going to be showing up
like
in the guild chat. We're aware that there are going to be a lot of fallen soldiers. If you were to announce every single death, it might become a lot for some players. So your community wants to know how you're doing. It wants to know how is it that you're doing, your journey, and also the end of your journey, right? So if you die in WoW Classic Hardcore at the moment, you can also choose to transfer your character.
So it's not super scary. If you end up getting attached to your character, you can continue your journey, just not on the hardcore route.
Yes, and we also want to celebrate the victories of the players too, right?
Okay.
So whenever someone gets to level 60, that one is going to be a realm announcement, and
nice.
everybody is going to be able to see who's the one getting to 60. I'm really excited to be online and see the first person, going to level 60. I know it's going to...
I don't know if you guys saw that. Give me a second, let me show you.
Super scary. If you end up getting attached to your character, you can continue your journey, just not on the hardcore route.
Yes, and we also want to celebrate the victories of the players too, right?
Okay.
So whenever someone gets to level 60, that one is going to be a realm announcement,
Yeah.
and
nice.
everybody is going to be able to see
Has reached level 60.
who's the one getting to 60. I'm really excited to be online and see the first person, going to level 60. I know it's gonna be a really interesting race to see. Yeah.
That's a really interesting point about, let's say, the race to 60.
Yeah.
We're fascinated by it because for hardcore, that level up process from 1 to 60
Takes a long
and you
time.
approach it so differently in the hardcore space.
Yeah.
You're more aware of your surroundings. You tend to go a
You're
little
more
bit
careful.
slower. But it makes you re-examine
this is a green screen, by the way.
Azeroth in ways that you hadn't before. And even some of the same quest lines. If you've played World of Warcraft for years and years and years now, it feels new and it feels fresh. But we recognize that as soon as we launch these realms, there's going to be players who race to 60. Of course, it's unavoidable. So it's going to be really fascinating to watch.
Yeah, I mean, hardcore is really catering to a huge range. It's World of Warcraft. It
Gonna
caters
make a
to
mage
huge
handing up
range.
free
We
water.
understand for some people it's going to be the journey. Like maybe some people would like to stay at level 19 and do Warzone Gulch. Maybe other players might go out and get to level 60 and then go and engage into the ratings, right? Like
you
the
can
actual
twink
raids
level
with the
19.
huge bosses.
Level
It takes a
19
lot of
rogues.
preparation and trust in your team for sure.
Farming
Like
ears.
those raids are also like a reminder that raids in Classic are 40 people raids. So
Oh my gosh.
40 people putting their lives there, right? Which we are adding like some changes to the raids. Well, this affects a lot of raid, not necessarily only for raids, but like we are removing the buff and debuff limit.
Okay.
Yeah. So it will create like, it will make it maybe a little bit like easier.
Yes.
For example, this debuff in the boss might not do as much damage as this other ability, so please don't cast it. But now you're gonna be able to do it, contribute to the damage meters, and continue to do all of those things.
That does help with rating,
Yes.
for sure.
Isn't BGs disable? I bring up people. Yeah, so because you can't do random BGs, you can't queue up to do a random BG, but you can still do Warstone Gulch. Sorry, you can still do war games. So if the server has an active, let's say level 19 Twink community, they might make 2 teams that then queue up against each other. So you could still technically do that. I think what's going to be more likely though is maybe just duels, like outside of Stormwind or similar. I don't know. But yeah. It's about wargaming. That's why.
When we think about the rating that we expect to see, back when Classic launched in 2019, Molten Core was cleared in 5 days.
Yeah.
Since we're going to be launching
I
these
remember it was
realms
like level
at their
57s
final
and stuff in
phase
the
and their
raid.
final feature sets, that means that players will be able to go all the way up through Naxxramas. That's going to be incredible to watch.
What about dungeons in hardcore mode? What's the difference there?
When we think about hardcore and we think about that focus on the outdoor world and the exploration and the journey from 1 to 60, being able just to spam dungeons to level up your character sounds a little antithetical or against.
Yeah, the dungeon change is good. Twink 19 wargames with permadeath, that'll be crazy. Well, if you think about it, I think wargames at 19 makes more sense than wargames at max level, right? Because if you're gonna lose a character, you'd rather want to lose something that's 19. So yeah, I think if there's gonna be any war games, it will probably be at 19. Probably, but yeah, I guess we'll see. I think there could be like a Twink community at 19, and have some PvPers collect ears from other players. I think that could happen.
It's the spirit of hardcore. But that being said, we recognize that players love the dungeons in Classic and they want to be able to play them. So we've put in a 24-hour timer where players will be able to run a dungeon
this is fair.
once every 24 hours.
Yeah.
Now that being said, once you hit level 60, you can spam dungeons to your heart's content. But outside of that, in your level up journey, you know, we expect the player base to really be focused on the outdoor content.
When you're out in the outdoor world, sometimes monsters, creatures can just follow you for a very long time. Is that going to be something in hardcore?
Yeah, so we've all seen the videos of Teramis being kited to Stormwind. Teramis is a very high-level mob that players can encounter in the open world, and unfortunately is not supposed to exist in a major capital city like Stormwind. Teramis is supposed to exist in the Blasted
really?
Lands.
The guards aren't doing their job.
So we've invested time to make sure that the leash range for characters or mobs such as Teramis is a lot shorter and more appropriate, and that they stay closer to where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, and the thing too is that we also know that, and we recognize that some of the classes like hunters and mages really rely on kiting those characters, so it's gonna be a long enough range so players can still use their abilities without like losing the control of the beast.
Speaking of hunter, are there any class changes coming with hardcore to make things more fair too?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely had to revisit that, starting with resurrection, right? Like that out of the door. That's not gonna happen. Any kind of like spell that does that is gonna be out. You know, resurrection, soul stones, Ankh from the shamans. It will be really unfair if we still keep some of these classes, these mechanics that allow, you know, to go against the spirit of hardcore.
You know, one of the big ones is bubble hearthing,
Yes,
where
yes.
paladins
Infamous.
can cast Divine Shield on themselves and be able to hearth anywhere out of danger.
Yep.
It's certainly an iconic move, although perhaps not particularly heroic for
Yeah.
paladins to do this. So we've removed their ability to be able to do that. When we look at the classes and the different class changes that we've made, keeping some things in like this that go against the spirit of hardcore, unfortunately just really creates some wild class
Oh,
imbalance
I was
for
going to
us.
say, there'd be paladins everywhere.
Yes, that would be
Yeah.
the class of choice for sure.
Yeah.
And Soulstone,
We
you
also
would
have
only
to
play
talk
when you
about,
have
like,
a
different
Soulstone.
mechanics that exist in
Then
the
you
game.
wait for the
I know
cooldown.
that one that the community is really talking about is Flask of Petrification, you know? Flask of Petrification really allows you to have immunity for for a little bit so you can get out of like certain situations. One of the reasons why we decided to keep it for now in the game, and we're gonna be monitoring it, is that really we're talking about like high end, the end of the game rating, right? And it's a point where you have invested so much time that sometimes it's okay to have like a safety net, right? Like a small, very, very specific safety net.
Yeah, we imagine for people who want to attain a flask of petrification, not only do they have to find the recipe, they have to farm the Black Lotus. That is a non-trivial amount of work to do. And when you've invested that much time into a character to get to level 60, we feel like it's okay to have just a little bit of protection.
So make friends with an alchemist.
Yes.
Or become an alchemist.
Yes.
An herbalist.
Yes.
The community is very excited. We're all very excited for
I am
hardcore.
super excited. Yeah.
What is some of the feedback that you've seen that you'd like to pay attention to in this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, in general,
Solo
we have seen
self-found?
a huge excitement from the community. One of the biggest points of contact has been, Action House, using the mail, because
Trading.
in the unofficial servers, part of some people's rule sets might be like, you don't get to engage with those, right? For us, we want to go out, enabling the Action House and the mail and
Maybe it's just a random choice of word in the moment. Maybe she's a bit nervous doing an interview, but calling this like, yes, some people play with these rules. Like, we are talking about a massive hardcore community. The only reason that Blizzard is even making these servers, it's not some people, it's basically the entirety of the hardcore community who plays by those rules. So I'm not sure if I like that she downplayed it. She definitely did downplay it a little bit. Maybe to make it sound like what they're doing is like the proper way for it. I don't know. But yeah. Let's see. She mentioned this when she was asked about what feedback they're taking serious. So maybe this is her way of introducing that they will consider it.
also trading, because as we mentioned before, we're in a very different environment than the one that it is in the other servers, where not everybody is going into the same challenge.
That desire for a self-found option, we've heard it loud and clear. And there's even members on the team that would want to play with that option enabled. So what we've looked into is, not for launch, but sometime after launch, enabling an option for players to choose from that allows them to play without being able to trade, use the auction house, or use mail.
So they will
a
do
self-found option.
They will do it then.
Not much more to discuss on that for today, but something that, we're really looking into.
Okay.
Thank you guys so
I
much
think they
for
know they
talking
have
about
to.
hardcore. I
It's
am
weird
so
if they
excited.
don't.
I can't
Hopefully
wait
they
until
don't
this
take
comes
too long
out.
to do it.
Thank you guys for tuning into Wowcast. See you next time.
That's awesome.
Thank you. See you.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, I think it's important because hardcore WoW has blown up, and it has blown up with these rules in mind, right? If these rules weren't there in the first place, it may not have blown up as much as it did, right? So I think it's important to recognize that and not be too late with it. I think they need to introduce it ASAP. But sure, it can be a future patch. I think that's okay. As long as they don't wait too long for it. I mean, I think it could even be a good thing that they're doing it from their own perspective in terms of PR. Maybe they have, some time of doing it this way, their way, which is a bit more casual friendly. Being able to group and trade, and if you die, you can have a stash of gold to get yourself up again, So it's a bit more casual friendly. Maybe they wanted to try that. But then I think enabling an option also for people who want to go the extra step is really good. I think it's really important. Because the thing is, the add-on is annoying to have to rely on, So, because I want to play it that way. I want to play it solo self-found, right? And relying on the add-on means little things like I don't dare log in on my laptop, let's say. Or let's say I'm traveling to an event, I can't log in. Because I have to take my add-on information with me. Or the add-on is going to fail the character because it wasn't on and you've played the character and now the whole thing is broken. There's just so many things that can go wrong with an add-on. It's better when it's part of the game, legitimately. So it's a bit more quote-unquote real. So I would really like to see them implement it into the game itself. I think it becomes a lot better that way. no complications and just real, you know? And hopefully, I'm gonna ask about this in my interview tomorrow. I really want to see some kind of like API for this, or leaderboard that they make themselves. I guess if there is a leaderboard, that maybe means that there is an API. But I really would like to see an option to pull information and have, you know, websites that can keep track of things as well. I think that makes it more exciting too when you can, you know, compare yourself to others. When does Hardcore Service come out? 24th of August, so next week. It's 24th of August at midnight for Sweden. So technically it's like 25th. But yeah, if you're American, it's 24th in the afternoon. So soon. Very soon. First 1K max level players get name on statue. Yeah! We need that. We need that. Do I flex? Do I be like, yeah, you know, I made it to the top 1000 in Diablo, and I'm wondering, you know, can I go for that in this game too? Like talking about a different game. I mean, it's still Blizzard. Hardcore releases next Thursday. Yeah, it does. It does. Sassy. If you must. It might be time to start WoW again with Hardcore coming. Yeah, I think it's a great time to try it out. To come back to WoW if you have taken a break. It's really this soon? Yeah, it is. Was this a dev update, not 10.2? Yeah, apparently people were hoping for 10.2 information today, and it was Hardcore. With no new information even. So, yeah, I'm sorry. This was pretty badly timed PR-wise. But yeah, it was an interview on Hardcore, which was mostly repeating information that we already know. It wasn't really an update. It wasn't really. But yeah. With that, guys, I'm gonna head off. I think ending with a little bit of WoW was nice, honestly. Thank you again to Zico for the host. And if you came from Zico's stream, I hope you enjoyed yourself. And I'll be back again tomorrow, continue Baldur's Gate 3. And yeah, we'll be playing WoW when Hardcore comes out next week. Maybe a little bit of WoW before that too. It depends how long it takes for me to finish Baldur's Gate 3. I'm prioritizing Baldur's Gate 3 until we finish that to start with. Have a good day. You too. You too. Have a good day or evening or night. For me, it's 10 p.m., so it's pretty late. Maybe it's 10 p.m. for some of you guys as well. And yeah. No clear answer on how many servers. Yeah, I noticed as well they didn't really give an answer. Now it's so soon, so I think it's appropriate to ask. I saw an interview where they did ask about how many servers, and they couldn't really say at the time. They said they're going to see, you know, with the PTR and how popular it is and stuff like that. So, yeah. I mean, now maybe they will have an answer. You hosting? Hosting? I'll be hosting. I don't know if I should call it hosting. I'm doing an interview tomorrow with two of the people from the team. And their names are, let me say their names. I don't want to say it wrong, so I'm going to read it. Nora Valletta and Josh Greenfield. So I am interviewing them tomorrow on Hardcore Classic. It's going to be off stream though. And then I will post it onto YouTube like a day later or so. And that's when you can see what they talked about. We can probably watch it together on stream as I make it public for YouTube. They're only going to have PvE servers? For Hardcore, yeah, only PvE servers. But they haven't said how many servers they're going to have, which I think is interesting. So, yeah.